Hey, Michael, you keep popping up in my feed. You've gone viral with some comments you made at the Bitcoin 2025 conference in Las Vegas recently. And it was where someone was asking you about proof of reserves for Strategy's 567,000 Bitcoin.
Does Strategy have any plans to publish their on-chain proof of reserves?
Yeah, proof of reserve. It's an interesting thing. Let me make the following point.
You called out Michael Saylor about proof of reserves. What's going on? You're like the legend in the room now all of a sudden. All right, welcome back to the Byte Federal Podcast. My guest today is Mitchell Askew, head of Blockware Intelligence. He leads the research division of Blockware. Mitchell, you are just like hitting the circuit now because you called out Michael Saylor and about proof of reserves. And man, what's going on? You're like the legend in the room now all of a sudden.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And to be honest, Paul, it was a very spur of the moment decision. I had a chance to ask him a question, and that's literally the only thing I could think of. But the way it's resonated with a lot of people, I can tell I wasn't the only one thinking this. And I've learned a lot over the last week. It's kind of a more nuanced discussion than I originally kind of thought. I was like, yeah, there's no reason not to do proof of reserves, which I still, if gun to my head, I'm saying, yeah, they should do proof of reserves. But Saylor does bring up a few interesting points as to why it's not necessary. And the first and foremost thing is like, hey, if you don't trust Saylor, buy Bitcoin, put it in cold storage, keep it in your self-custody. Because at the end of the day, if they don't have the Bitcoin, or if Coinbase is rehypothecating it, which I don't think is true, but if that's actually the case and that got exposed, it's the MSTR shareholders who would get hurt, right? It's not the people holding Bitcoin in self-custody.
Yeah, 100%. So, but I think the shock for all of us was that he was so adamantly against it, right? Like, because it just seems like not that big of a lift, and there's other companies doing it already,
Right.
that are playing similar game. They see value in it. Bitcoiners see value in it. So I don't know. I mean, I did hear, his response, and I can kind of understand that, but it's like, this is just a public address, and maybe you should change up your buying strategy a little bit. Maybe you should be a little more creative instead of always buying the top.
Right.
I mean, he's telling
I
everybody when he's buying anyways. So what is he really?
Yeah.
He's letting everybody front run him anyways. I
Yeah.
I don't quite understand the. Maybe you can enlighten me on this. I don't quite understand the counterpoint as to why he needs the secrecy.
Yeah, his whole point before I even asked him this question was that strategy is very transparent. And that transparency of, we're going to buy Bitcoin, we're always going to buy Bitcoin no matter what, allows investors, whether you want to go long, short, sell options, buy options, no matter how you want to interface with the equity, that they're fully committed to the Bitcoin strategy and they're going to continue to accumulate. And so to me, proof of reserves is kind of like the end of that transparency road. And
Right.
to give him some slack, I do think the question caught him off guard. It shouldn't have, but within the context of that event, it did, because it was a Bitcoin for Corporations event. Everyone there is like ultimate Saylor fanboy, like the peak cream of the crop, like irresponsibly long MSTR, that crowd. And so I don't think he anticipated kind of an antagonistic question, which I didn't mean it at all. It's very much a neutral thing. And
Sure.
he actually went on CNBC this morning and they asked him hit again, and he had a bit more of a polished response. But like yourself, I was very surprised at how adamant he was against it.
Yeah. Yeah, especially when others are doing it, right? So, I mean, this actually, and I don't know if others feel this way, but it kind of made me more interested in meta planets just for this reason, right? Like, if you're going to support transparency, and as Bitcoiners, that's sort of the entire culture of what we're trying to do. Don't trust, verify. This seems to fly in the face of it, and that was really, I don't know, that was eye opening for me. I think you're right. A lot of the MSTR fan club is going to defend it because they're going to defend their bags, right? So,
Right.
um, But I don't know. Do you think this makes people think twice and look at treasury companies that are being truly transparent?
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be an area where we can see other treasury companies distinguish themselves because let's be honest, strategy, they're far ahead in terms of quantity of Bitcoin. Nobody's going to catch them in that. Nobody's going to catch them in terms of trading volume, options, open interest, and a lot of these things that allow them to create Stride and Strife and Strike and convertible notes. All of that, the foundation of that is they have so much trading volume, they have so much volatility, and they have so much Bitcoin. So no treasury company can compete with them in that regard. But where you can see other treasury companies compete is the rate at which they increase BTC per share. So for example, 21, they're starting from a lower foundation, 42,000 Bitcoin or whatever. It's a lot easier to go from 42K Bitcoin to 84K Bitcoin than it is to go from 500,000 to a million. And then the point you bring up, which is the proof of reserves. Now as an investor, I'm thinking more like maybe I want Metaplanet and 21 and Nakamoto down the line because this is an area where they could be a little more transparent than strategy.
So that makes me wonder about what you think the ideal proof of reserves would be, or how a Bitcoin treasury company would ideally disclose their holdings in a safe and transparent way.
To me, the Metaplanet model has worked very well. They have a mempool.space dashboard and it aggregates all of their addresses and you can see at any time. I think probably the most practical approach, and I'm not an operating officer at any of these treasury companies, so maybe there's logistical and technical things I'm not fully in tune with, but you could update quarterly. I don't see any issue with that. If you're going to update your financial statements quarterly, your assets, your liabilities, to me, that would be a time frame where like, hey, you're not, it could be a pain in the butt to update regularly. Maybe you don't want people tracking everything, but every quarter that quarter's Bitcoin you accumulated, new address that you don't share with anyone until the quarter end financials. To me, that makes sense.
Yeah, because the whole argument about an auditor being sort of the stamp of approval. How many times in Wall Street have we seen that fail before? Right? I mean, this has been sort of the key point behind a lot of fraudulent companies on Wall Street. And I'm not saying MicroStrategy is fraudulent, right? I'm not saying that. What I am saying, though, is that as an auditor who's trying to do the best job possible, wouldn't you like to see the proof of reserves as opposed to us not knowing whether they are actually auditing the reserves or not? Because there's been lots of cases where, in hindsight, the auditor hasn't done the proper job. And they pay the fines and they move on. And the shareholders left holding the bag, right? So that to me is, I think, the big risk that Saylor could very easily, or strategy could very easily put out that fire without much of a heavy lift. So the fact that he hasn't or won't remains to be seen, but I don't know, it definitely raises a red flag, and I think you did everybody a service by calling it out.
Thank you. Yeah, that was my goal, was to just start the conversation, because I genuinely wanted to know, as a shareholder, is this something we can look forward to and expect? And you're right. I mean, Bitcoin is the best auditing system. The point of Bitcoin is that you don't have to trust. You can verify for yourself. It theoretically puts Big Four out of business, and it's the ethos of Bitcoin. And so I'm surprised that they haven't done it, but I do think we can, as the Bitcoin community, can shift the Overton window, especially as we see these other treasury companies start to do the same thing. Because 21, Jack Mallers tweeted out their addresses this week. He's like, hey, here's a few thousand coins from SoftBank. Here's some from Tether.
Yeah.
Here's some from Bitfinex. And it's going to be our treasury. You can look at it on
Right.
chain. So I think at some point the pressure may mount and force Saylor's hand in a way.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what he does. So
Yeah.
thank you for
One more
asking
point
that
on
question.
this too is one more point I would add is, I don't understand why strategy, they're a $100 billion company. Just acquire a custodian, acquire a BitGo, or build your own in-house custody. you don't have to rely on Coinbase, in my opinion. I think that would, even if they don't publish on-chain proof of reserves, simply owning the custodian rather than having another party intermingled, I think would do a lot in terms of just easing the minds of shareholders.
So you've heard Bitcoin is the new gold rush by now. As world leaders on all sides have endorsed it as the future of money, and now you're looking to get started, we'll show you how. It's actually easier than you think. First, go to your nearest Byte Federal ATM and turn your cash to coin. Byte Federal has over 1,200 locations around the country with the highest daily limits. Go to our website, bytefederal.com, to find the nearest ATM to you. Log in to any wallet, then create an account, deposit your US cash, and instantly convert it to Bitcoin. That's it. We are the only US manufacturer and operator in the Bitcoin ATM industry, and our US-based live customer service is second to none. Go on, give it a whirl, and don't get left behind. Click the link below.